Looks like we are live. Welcome to the Modern Merchant Podcast. I'm Austin. We got a really good episode today. We're going to be talking about how to evaluate a new distributor. And we have a guest on today. Obviously, besides Travis, CEO of Flexpoint, we have Frank at Educators Resource. Frank, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's always great catching up with you and talking with you. Frank works for Educators Resource, and they have been a really long partner of ours at Inventory Source, and now with us ramping up Flexpoint, we're helping out a few other customers of yours. Just give us a quick little, Reader's Digest about, your background and a little bit more about Educators Resource.
Sure. So, gosh, I've been here at Educators Resource for about 12 years now. And I was really hired to help the brick and mortar customers, and have completely failed at that. Now we're doing pretty much almost 100% e-commerce fulfillment in the education space. So I'm the sales manager here, and our company's growing, $5-10 million a year for the past 3 or 4 years. So COVID hit, and we thought it was going to slow down, and it just kind of sped up. And back to school started about 4 months ago and has not lit up. So we're just kind of hanging on to the buck and bronco that is e-commerce right now. So anyway, it's
nice
to be on your show.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And I bet you guys got some stories, just in regards to, where you guys started, whether that was brick and mortar to just shifting online in e-commerce. And maybe we'll get into that here in a little bit.
Sure.
So starting off, obviously, the podcast, we like to talk about, what's happening in e-commerce and retail this week. Some interesting headlines, and I just pulled some stuff that I thought would be kind of interesting to maybe talk about a little bit. One thing, Walmart teamed up with a D2C brand called Bubble. This is a bid to tap into the Gen Z market, which is kind of interesting. Walmart's trying to stay hip. It looks, I think the Bubbles products is like cheaper clay masks and toners and cleaners, primarily geared around the younger skin. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Walmart trying to tap into Gen Z market. Another really one, which I feel like I would never see a headline like this, is 30 new stores opened up in June and July for Ross. And Ross is sticking to a plan of over 3,000 locations that they want to open. So it's like kind of like a post-pandemic thing to open up more brick and mortar stores, which was kind of interesting. Everything's kind of shifting online. So I thought that was an interesting headline. Another one that I feel like we're seeing nowadays, and it's in the next one as well, is Macy's is debuting a private label apparel brand. It's called And Now This, which I feel like is not proper grammar. But I guess the brand is touted to trend forward pieces at affordable price points. So what's interesting here, and I'm about to talk about another one, Dick's Sporting Goods is opening up 5 new store concepts. And I read a little bit on that where these big retailers are kind of doing like a D2C brand push of their own private label branding and own private label, apparel. So I thought that was interesting. And to piggyback up of Dick's Sporting Goods testing 5 new store concepts, they are doing like sports facilities now in their stores. There's one that had like a brand new rock wall that they created in there. So I thought that was cool. I know Dick's Sporting Goods, they always had like a small little simulator for the golf section, which I was like, the putting green. And then we see people like create havoc on the putting green or anything like that. But they're doing that. They're doing a D2C private label brand. And it sounds like they're doing a little bit more stuff. So that's interesting to see the big box retailers doing more D2C stuff. And then another one, which I feel like I haven't heard about with this brand, a few months after the plans for a more direct-to-consumer strategy, Wilson Sporting Goods is opening up its first brick-and-mortar store in a popular neighborhood in Chicago. So it's just interesting seeing more of these big brands and big retailers like going direct to consumer and opening brick and mortar stores, like the pandemic never happened. So I don't know, just some interesting headlines. Travis, do you have any thoughts on some of these?
I'm switching over to Wi-Fi though. Am I good? Am I coming through?
We hear you.
I switched over to different Wi-Fi.
We hear you.
Cool. All right, good. Yeah. So the first thing that pops out to me is really this. Well, I mean, Walmart, honestly, they know what they're doing, right? I mean, they leaned in on TikTok, and they know their next buyer is coming through. And you think about the commodity items that Walmart really kind of pushes, and the brand side of things has not always been there. It's not really their forte, right? It's about things you just need. Honestly, a lot of back to school stuff, I'm sure. Obviously, people are shopping at Walmart there. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They're going after the younger side of things. So there's no doubt that there's been a trend that we've seen from Walmart with the TikTok, partnership and all of that.
Yeah.
Ross, the initial one with Ross is interesting because they're staying on brand. They've been saying this for a while. Ross and TJ Maxx have been anti-online, which is, everyone's got their strategy. Some people, this works a lot. You go the opposite route of everyone else, and you get noticed. So it seems like they're continuing with that strategy. Those are the two big ones. I think the other ones make sense. Obviously, with online becoming a bigger deal, and Dick's is a very, they are very online, digital forward type company. They're a big drop shipper. They're an advocate for drop shipping. Getting people into the stores makes a lot of sense. You need to build your brand different ways. So that one makes sense. But now I'm curious, Frank, if I don't know how much you deal with Walmart or Ross, and just being in your space, if anything kind of
sure. Well,
from there.
What sticks out is the Rosses and the TJ Maxxes. There's always going to be ladies that need that shirt for the event that they didn't know they had, and they need it now. It doesn't, e-commerce is not fast enough for them. So they need the immediate. They have an event that pops up. They've got to get something quick. And I see the same thing in Dick's Sporting Goods in Academy. My son's a tennis player, and you lose a cooler, or you got to have some sort of one of those pop up seats for the courts. And so there is no waiting for even overnight for Amazon Prime delivery or whatever the case may be. So when I go in, I see all the softball players and basketball players and baseball players all running in to get something quick. So, and having some of those more interesting storefronts that have something other than just racks of clothes, having the experience, having some sort of sensory experience, like the climbing wall, that's they probably know what they're doing too. You want to get people in there and hang out and play a little bit. Yeah,
it's like, you think about it, you're seeing more and more people buy off Instagram when they're not really looking to buy. You're just scrolling. Oh, that's a cool shirt. That's a cool hat. And you decide to buy. It's essentially the same kind of concept here. Like, let's go to the rock wall, then let's go climbing for a little bit. And then, by the way, I need a new rope. I need a new, some more chalk. I need new shoes, whatever.
Right.
So it's a lot tougher to build that out, a lot more capital intensive to build out experiences, right? But it seems like everyone was talking about that pre-pandemic. I think Nordstrom or Macy's, or maybe both, were talking about re-envisioning their stores as, experiences. And it seems like the pandemic halted that for a lot of people, but or at least slowed it down. But this seems like a point in the right direction where, retail online is obviously accelerating, but in-store experiences and just brick and mortar is not going anywhere. It's just going to be different, it seems.
Yeah. No, that's good points. So yeah, quick little recap in the week in e-commerce. Let's get into the bulk of things. We work very closely with Educators Resource, one of the top distributors, that we partner with, and there's always this conversation of, how do I evaluate a new distributor to work with? How do I re-engage relationship with distributors or wholesale suppliers, drop shippers, things like that? Like, there's just all this conversation of fostering this relationship. So it's kind of started the bootstraps at the beginning, and that's just finding a wholesale distributor. Obviously, the big thing is like supplier directories, right? Inventory source supplier directories, Sale Who, Worldwide Brands. I'm sure, Frank, you're on a handful, Educators Resource is on a handful of directories. And really back in the day, and it's probably picking up now. I know we just recently went to a trade show, but trade shows was like the way to go to find distributors to work with, brands to work with, to source products from. Is there any other thing that pops out to you, Frank, of like a good way to find just companies in general, or like maybe places you guys are marketing on that people just don't know about?
Yeah, I mean, trade shows. I remember trade shows. Great. I mean, I think they will rebound. I think people want to have that experience again, and we go to the education trade shows the ed markets and some of the catalog trade shows where people can discover us. I would say probably the majority of the folks find us straight up with just a regular Google search because they're looking for a wholesaler in the education space, and we're the only main one. There's some people that kind of play in the periphery of what we do, but if you want to sell educational supplies, you got to talk to us. So we're really just seeing people funneled through us directly that way. And I think what's important for your customers is whoever the wholesaler they're talking to is to really reach out and make a connection, a telephone call with the sales manager. Just talk to them a little bit, tell them what you're trying to accomplish, and they may save you a lot of time. It may not be the right company for you, or it may not be able to fulfill what you're trying to accomplish. And instead of sending a bunch of emails back and forth and getting set up and going down the wrong road, maybe have just a baseline conversation before you waste everyone's time. I think might be a good solution there too.
So you would say starting the conversation with a wholesale supplier. So I went trade show, wherever I went, everywhere I found a distributor, in my space, and I'm curious to get the conversation started. You think like that personal touch of a phone call is really going to set everybody up for success rather than this just back and forth emailing?
I mean, I get, when you get a lot of emails every day. I get, a couple hundred emails, every day, and I get 15 Amazon sellers, eBay sellers every day. And I don't particularly want to work with all of them. I will say that if it's a Flxpoint or an inventory source customer, regardless if they're playing on that space, we work with you guys. So that's one great selling point for you guys is that if they come through inventory source, if they mention that anywhere in our little inquiry form, we're going to give you the time of day. We're going to open the account, and we don't do that for everybody. So or anybody really. So it's a good feather in Mel's cap.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll send a check. The check's in the mail. Frank, I appreciate that.
Perfect.
Well,
I'll take Venmo.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, carrier pigeon will be delivering it here later. Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, since we're talking about that, right? Like, I'm assuming you're saying that really because a lot of the initial setup is technical. There's basically a lot of hoops that someone needs to jump through to kind of get going, especially if they're drop shipping, right? And I mean, I guess you're always looking for partners like us, and just in general to streamline that onboarding process, right? Would you say that's one of the biggest hurdles in kind of bringing on new resellers is kind of the technical conversation, or what else might be there?
Well, I think the main thing is you just want to kind of differentiate yourself from so much noise. There's so many people they're going through the process. And so I think, like I say, that reaching out and having the conversation. And so I will remember you. I remember your voice. I remember what you're trying to accomplish, what part of the country you're in. I think that's going to work for any wholesaler. And that sales manager is going to give you some tips or hints if it's not on the onboarding documents. There's nothing on the website for this tip that I'll tell you about, or maybe a common mistake. We're not going to put the common mistakes in the frequently asked questions. So just having that quick conversation and that's probably the best way to kick off any relationship with any wholesaler. I think is just have a conversation. It's 15 minutes, but I think it's important. And I remember those customers and try to go a little bit above and beyond for those type guys. Yeah.
And it seems, there's a lot of content out there. It seems like there is, and we're in the space, so we see it a lot, but just in general, I come from running an agency where I always heard the new thing was starting an agency or starting a content or educational course or whatever on how to make money online or how to kind of get aspiring entrepreneurs were looking around. It seems like e-commerce has definitely picked up. Shopify has pushed a lot of, people selling online. Amazon has been fostering an ecosystem around reselling products and private labeling products. And so, I do see it a lot where, like you mentioned, Amazon, eBay, resellers are coming out of the woodwork, right? So they're coming out of everywhere. And there's all these courses on how to resell branded items or how to private label. So I'm curious how you guys think about it, because each distributor is a little bit different in how they might approach it and think about it. Some are saying, hey, we don't allow anyone to sell on Amazon or eBay. Some have like a vetting process. I'm just curious how you guys approach these sellers.
I mean, yeah, we have a vetting process now, and we don't. If your website is under construction, I don't really care to talk to you. I don't really care. It just really doesn't matter to me if you're under construction. I'm looking for people who have experience, people who potentially work with other wholesalers. They understand how it works, how everything flows, how to deal with the content. And I like when they work with inventory source, you guys keep them between the navigational beacons. Y'all kind of instruct them what to do, how to sell our products. Make sure they're not selling the Amazon products that they're not supposed to. No Amazon products. Right. That's why we work with pretty much every customer y'all bring us. There's people coming from other directions and they don't really know all the different rules or don't know what NAP is. They don't know what MSRP is. Like they don't know all these basic, just very basic things. I don't have time to, and I bet you all of the wholesale distributors, they don't have time to teach anybody. So that's my main thing. I don't have time to teach anyone. I really want to work with people that are already moving and know what's going on.
And you guys still see value in the experienced Amazon seller, right? Because you guys are sticking true to being a distributor. We've seen some that say, you know what, for Amazon, we just do it and we don't allow anyone else to compete with us on the same ASIN. But it sounds like you guys still see value in allowing at least some people to come and work on the same ASIN.
We still do. I mean, I have really, really big Amazon customers. I probably have about 5 that are multi-million-dollar Amazon sellers. They all seem to be able to play in the same sandbox. They don't seem to step on each other's toes when I see our product. And there's still a lot of older teachers that are not web savvy, don't care to order through the internet. So, so there's always that. But we got in the e-commerce game in like 98, which is kind of early for most people, and then really poured a lot of resources into the EDI part of it about 5 years ago. And so we knew that was kind of the future. Our customers that probably do the best, that really do the best, they just have great abilities to kind of find synergies, or they are buying in bulk and maybe they're bringing products to a warehouse and then redistributing. Maybe they're not just using this as a Dropship service. Maybe they're buying bulk. Maybe they're doing back-end stuff in another country. We have customers, Indian persuasion, they're in New Jersey, but they've got their family is in India, and they're doing all the stuff, making the orders overnight. So we see an order drop in at midnight. Well, someone was, where it's daylight over there, they're actually putting the orders together, doing a lot of work. So that's kind of our highest end e-commerce customers, and it's pretty impressive to see how they do it. Yeah,
and so the larger, online retailers, it sounds like, that are sending a lot of POs. They're probably, you mentioned they invest in EDI. Are they coming to you with EDI specs each time and saying, we want to integrate? Obviously in the mid-market, we're going to help with these connect to stores, but inventory source kind of helps with the technical stuff, and so is Flxpoint. But are you seeing and having to build to custom EDI specs often? I don't know if you can speak to that.
No, we really don't. Yes, and that's a little bit out of my area, but no, we don't. We have just our flat, regular EDI. The stuff people have been doing for 25 years, and it works. We don't do any of the APIs and things like that. That are we deal with people that are really, really extremely talented and know all the cutting edge stuff, and we're like, we're not doing cutting edge. We're doing simple handshakes back and forth and communicate, and it works, right? And so it's all we really need. The only thing we have hourly inventory files. I wish we could have, a real-time inventory feed. That would probably be the only thing I would wish for. But you don't have to have that to run a very large successful e-commerce company.
Right, it just needs to work, like you said, right? As long as it works. Yeah.
Should we bring Michelle on? Let's get her to just do a full-on EDI conversation.
She just would tell you no. She'd be like, I don't have time for this.
Oh man, I see it. I see the emails setting up EDI because we do ordering right through you guys with EDI, and that's a fun conversation.
We're very happy, Michelle. You have a great EDI team and support system, but she was kind of the main integrator, especially with like inventory source. And she has a new person named Dean that is in her office becoming the second Michelle, and we're really excited about that. We needed him a couple of years ago, but I'm glad he's in there learning, and so maybe Michelle can take a vacation or something. we're excited about that. We're trying to get some redundancies. You know, we grew so fast. We had some growing pains. We grew so fast that we have people that are just really important, like our warehouse manager. There's entirely too much load on him, and we needed some redundancies so the guy can take a break. And we see that in our director of IS and our warehouse guy. So we're bringing the COO in to kind of help him out, and then we're bringing in some expediters, kind of someone that goes in between customer care and our IT department. Because we have a lot of IT problems that the customer care doesn't really know if it's a IT problem, is it a partner problem, is it just a customer doesn't know what they're talking about issue. So we've got an expediter in there right now, and he's going to be learning how all these things work, trying to figure out the problems. You know, we're all problem solving every day, and this guy, his job's going to figure out where that problem's coming from. So we're excited about that.
That's a good point. Where do you guys? So you say the growing pains right now, because I'm really curious. I mean, you guys have been, like, from what you said, just growing exponentially. What do you guys deal with from like a warehousing perspective or shipping perspective that's been difficult to get over? Is it the manpower, like getting seasonal? I know a big thing with like warehouse management and shipping is like getting seasonal workers in and hiring the right people, training the right people, and getting ready for back to school. Is that like what you guys have been dealing with issue wise?
I mean, so it's been weird. We've always had to ramp up a huge amount of, so maybe like 75 warehouse employees would have to come in at the beginning of June and work all the way through August. So you've got lots of college kids, that sort of thing. This is the first year we've actually allowed high school seniors in high school. I think you had to be 16 or 18 one, but people that are still in high school could come to work for us. And instead of having a back to school season, we've had one that started in like April, basically. So it's been kind of crazy. It's tough. Working in a warehouse is really tough. There's no air conditioning. We have big fans. We have the big ass fans all over the packing stations, big 20-foot fans. It's pretty cool. And that does help. We've had an extremely rainy mobiles. We've had like 47 inches of rain, which has actually been kind of good. Keeps the temperatures down. When it rains on the warehouse, it kind of cools everything down. But I mean, our biggest issues getting enough inventory in. So we have about, get all the Wi-Fi set up for the scanners and so we can do the packing at this other distribution center. So like all these little different growing pains just put a lot of pressure on IT. He's running from place to place, and then we have our digital merchandising and sales is at a office downtown in Mobile, so about 10 miles away from our warehouse. That's how much we've grown. We've run out of office space. So now the IT guys have to come down and fix our printer or reset routers or whatever stuff like that is. So
with that kind of growth, with that kind of growth, I mean, you guys, I don't know if you've had time to even stop and think like, what's next? I mean, you have increased revenue coming through. Is there any major initiatives that got pulled forward or things that you guys are thinking about as far as driving the business in a new direction or just faster? What are you guys thinking about for something new?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of adjacent industries or verticals that we're looking at, fine arts and some different things that would just go right with school supplies. We don't really want to get in the office supply industry because there's people that do all that. There's major guys that are all in that with DCs all over the place. But we're just looking for these little opportunities that no one really seems to be filling. So I think the guys, Jack and Brad Summersell, who started the company and been here much longer than I have, or always have their antenna up. And then when we're talking to vendors, or even some of our bigger customers, we're asking like, what are your pains? Like, what are you having trouble getting? We're constantly probing to see what their pain is. And maybe there's a way that we could solve that. So, but right now we're just not seeing an end in the education space. I think there's multi-billions of dollars that have been pushed into schools to help them. And just recently, and they've got to spend all that money, and some subset of it will flow through our customers and through us, I would imagine. So, we're just trying to hang on right now.
Nice. Well, you guys are definitely progressive in that you've got so many SKUs, you've got a lot of customers, and you don't really have to, it seems, engage in the dropship business because you are, you're the number one player in your space, and a lot of these distributors will just say, we don't dropship. You got to buy at least this minimum or whatever it might be. How have you guys thought about, I guess, when did you start drop shipping? Were you part of that decision? Maybe it was before, maybe it wasn't. And how do you guys see it as a strategic advantage?
Well, I mean, to be able to ship one product in a box is pretty valuable. Our brick and mortars, as they realize that the problem is we have so many SKUs, and any sort of like brick and mortar store would always want to have 18,000 SKUs, but there's nobody has the shelf room for that. So they started really begging for that. Probably right when I came on, it was really starting to become a bigger thing. So we were setting up accounts and child accounts. One might be a fulfillment account that had a freight allowance, and then we had another account that was designed for drop shipping, and they have be able to use SurePost or different shipping options that would be helpful for that. And so that's just become bigger and bigger and bigger over the past 12 years. And it's been interesting to see how the shipping options have changed. Like SurePost used to be a really terrible way to send products. UPS would send the product to the post office, and it would sit there, and it wouldn't go to, even though the post office is going to all those residential addresses, it wouldn't get. I don't know what they didn't think it was important, I guess. So now the post office understands e-commerce a little better. I think that's making things flow a little. I mean, I get all my SurePost packages really quickly now, so. That's probably what the majority of our customers are utilizing for a really low cost option.
Yeah. So dropship, obviously your customers are asking for it. So your customers ask enough good customers ask, you end up doing it, right? That's basically the story there. Yeah. And you guys were able to figure it out, which it sounds like was an investment, and that's a huge competitive advantage, and kind of gives you guys that foothold even more so, right, in your space. One other question I'm just curious, just having so many SKUs, having a lot of resellers, being around in the business for so long, the data side of things, has that evolved at all? How do you guys use it? Maybe that other companies don't. Just curious to know more about how you guys leverage data to do your job and do it better.
Probably the most important part. When you say data, I think our digital merchandising team, which is one of the reasons why we had to move to these new offices downtown, is we have about 8 to 12 digital merchandisers who are constantly working on all the content, the still images, the video images, and they're working with the vendors, trying to get them to fill out our enhanced content templates. So you have spreadsheets that have 120, 200 different, probably more than that. That's probably the last time I've looked, but different columns of data for each little product. And this becomes extremely important when we push stuff to like an Office Depot or Staples or a Target or Kroger. We work with some of those guys too, and they want as much data as possible and can utilize that. So there's just folks working on those all the time, and they're helping get products into different portals and that sort of thing. So it's extremely important to have really good folks, and our folks are just a cut above. They're all really super smart. I mean, our biggest challenge is keeping them, because they're usually very smart and very aggressive and want to move up the ladder. And so they're going to go somewhere if we don't make them happy.
Right. And so product data, right? So the first thing that came up in your mind when I talked about data was product data, and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because that's a huge differentiator for a distributor, right? Like, I mean, that's a value add. I mean, logistics is number one, what you think about a distributor, and just having access to the product, but getting the products from a brand who doesn't take much time to really build out the data, rewrite descriptions and things like that. That's a huge piece of what your resellers are looking for, right? Yeah,
I mean, unfortunately, so we deal with a lot of really kind of small mom and pop sort of vendors that we bring in, and they're just very unsophisticated. They've been making a product that a teacher loves, but it's very basic. So we have like time timers and seat sacks, little sacks that go in the back of a kid's desk that has a little pocket. These are very non-technical things, and these folks, you kind of have to drag them into the 21st century. And so look, I need to have all this data. I've got to have it all. It has to be right, and so I think we've been pretty successful with that. And then we realize when someone's just not capable, but it's a good product, we're just going to do all the work ourselves. We're going to do all the images.
Yeah.
We're just going to do it all ourselves, because we have to have robust data. It's got to be right. We have to vet it and make sure it's right. But it'd be nice if they give it to us correctly in the first place.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
and I think as far as, data in general about our business and where are we selling things, what part of the country, I think there's tons of improvement that we could do. Like we don't even focus on that because it's just set. We don't have time to. There's probably so much more that our company could really do if we just had an opportunity to sit back and relax. So that's not my job. It's probably the CEO's and the executive vice president's job, but that's maybe one day we'll get to take a breath and start focusing on all those other things too.
Yeah, and that's, I always like to ask about that because we see it a lot where you lose a lot of that insight as a distributor when you sell in bulk. You sell, like you said, those kids seats, right? You sell a couple pallets of that at the start of a season, and you never know when that picks up sales. You don't know, if that's sold all in the first day or the last day of the season. I mean, you'll see the reorders, but it's such a lagging indicator that it's tough to really tell. With Dropship, right, we see that being an advantage. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys at some point are, going to dive more into it, or maybe someone is, but like in general, seeing those Dropship orders come in and seeing demand happen in real time, essentially, has been a huge thing we've noticed with distributors, kind of picking up on that data and then helping that buying process. Because we talked about trade shows earlier, going to trade shows, you look at your past sales data, what did it do last quarter? What did we do the quarter before that? But I think we're seeing more with Dropship and just real-time sales transactions. This buying cycle is speeding up because you have that data in your hands. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves.
Yeah, we're currently hiring a COO that's going to be someone above the warehouse manager and someone who works probably over the director of IT as well. We're literally in the hiring process right now, and I'm just thinking about what sort of genius do we need to run that? It's
right.
It's a beast. I mean, to have all the warehouse experience and all the the IT infrastructure experience, and to make that all marry that all together. I don't know what person. I'm really excited to see who it's going to be because they're really going to have to know what's up, and hopefully they'll have some experience in like some of the more high tech warehouses. I like to think we're high tech, but there's no robots yet. We do have a machine that's going to be automatically boxing products. That's I think on the way. Really excited about that. I don't know if you see the big rolls of corrugated boxing material, and it pre-cuts, and the product goes in, it measures it with a laser, makes a box for it, sends it out the other side. So we're about to get one of those. So
that's amazing. About that is really cool. I bet the warehouse technology space is just, it is blowing up. We're seeing all this investment go into 3PLs and warehouse management systems. And I bet we're just going to see some really cool stuff in the next 10 years, really in 5 years in the warehouse space. We had Aaron from Ship Hero on last week. And I just saw an email newsletter from him today where they're actually doing something where there's a camera above each packer. When they're packing the items into a box, it's automatically taking a picture before they close it up just to confirm what's in that box for, customer fraud, I guess you want to call it, or just, if it's an outsourced warehouse, making sure you're putting in a black t-shirt, not a blue t-shirt. Right. Yeah. So really interesting stuff, I think, on the horizon.
We get some issues. We get very small issues, damages, and you're like, did the UPS guy damage it? Did our packer pack it incorrectly? Did they put a bowling ball on top of a egg carton sort of situation? Right. We see heavy things with light things, that sort of thing. And, oh my gosh, we had cameras taking pictures all along, and we can go back and use that as training for our packers. We're still bringing in people that may have not have done this before, and they're making just thousands of decisions about how to put things in a box, make sure it's not wasting space, and packing it correctly so that UPS can deliver it without it being broken. And that's those type things are pretty cool to see, like cameras that are.
That's really cool. Do you guys have a Publix in Mobile, like a grocery store? Publix,
Shopping is a pleasure.
Whatever it is, it really is. I don't know what they do there, the training, but they seem to have it down where they know how to make. They're not putting the eggs and the milk jug together each time. So whatever they've got going on. They've got some tips along the way, I'm sure.
If you could take Publix and Chick-fil-A, the people that do the training, I mean,
Right.
like, you could. I mean, yeah, they should run NASA probably. I mean, we could always work on our training. Our HR person, we've got new HR folks running our hiring and training, and it just becomes more and more important. People expect the best, and so you've got to hire the best you can and train them the best you can. So
Yeah,
that's what we're trying to do.
Excellent. Yeah, no, some good stuff there, guys. I appreciate you guys taking away with it. Really don't have any more questions. Travis, you have any more questions for Frank?
No, I really hit all the ones. I was really curious to learn more about your guys' business. We see you guys doing great and just killing it. And, I was really interested to learn more about it. I don't know, was there anything that you felt like we should have chatted on that we didn't? Anything we didn't discuss? We missed?
No, I got to bring up some of the things I'm excited about, some of the new hires and some of the additions we're making to our warehouse and how we're growing. And, we're really excited. I feel like I have some job security over the next couple of years because there's just so much to accomplish. It's nice working with great partners like you that make things easy. When I have a big problem that's not getting any sort of assistance, I can reach out to one of you guys and say, hey, help. And I usually, even if it's late on a Friday, I get a response back. So that's nice. I enjoy working with you guys and hope we can continue to do this over the next few years for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we enjoy your partnership as well. Well, perfect. Thanks for jumping on, Frank. We really appreciate it. I think we talked about a lot of good stuff. It's funny that robots and warehouses popped up again. Might be a recurring theme. Give us everybody that's going to be listening in on this, give us a little plug on why someone would want to check out Educators Resource.
Well, if you've got a teacher or a parent, if there's children in your life, our products are going to speak to any of those customers. So I think everyone knows someone like that. And our products are valuable and they ship out the next day and we've got good data. So come visit us.
I think a lot of people picked up some good stuff there, and it was funny. The whole time you were talking, I'm thinking of my fiance, and she's going into a new school. She's been at her old school as a teacher. She's going back to fifth grade. Godspeed. Fifth grade's wild. But she's just going through all of the stuff that she needs for her new classroom because this school is goes above and beyond compared to the last school that she was with, with just anything like decorations and all that stuff. And as you're going through all that, I'm thinking of okay, what does she need? Where does she need to go to a brick and mortar store? What could she get on Amazon? And with back to school, this ended up being a perfect little podcast. Exactly. Frank, thank you so much for jumping on. Travis, as always, as well. So if you guys want to check out the podcast is on Spotify and Stitcher, Apple Music, live streaming every Tuesday or usually Tuesday, sometimes Thursdays on YouTube. Check us out there, subscribe there. Frank, thanks again, and see everybody on the next one.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.